Well, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining me. Sorry for being a couple minutes late. My name is Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer, and welcome to your employment law session. This is your live Q&A employment law session, so thank you for joining me. Again, I'm Lior Samfiru, one of the founding partners of Samfiru Tumarkin LLP. We are a law firm, one of the biggest law firms in employment law. We practice in Ontario, BC, and Alberta. And if you're one of those provinces, if you have a question about employment law, if you want to know your rights, ask. Now is the time where you can get those answers, where you don't have to try to research on your own, stress out about it, lose sleep. You can get answers. And the reason why I'm so confident I can give you good answers is because we have some very good employment laws in this country. Across Canada, we have some of the best employment laws in the world. So whether you're dealing with a wrongful dismissal, a constructive dismissal, whether you're dealing with a harassment, whether you're dealing with a boss that's not treating you properly, there are laws that apply. There are laws that help. There are laws that can deal with that situation. And you can start off right now by asking a question. There's no bad questions. There's only answers and solutions. And I'm here to tell you what you need to know about those legal rights. So don't be bashful. Don't worry about not having solutions. There are solutions. Let me give you some additional contact information before we start answering some questions today. If you want to connect with me and my team off social media, you want to have a private email exchange or a private phone discussion, very, very easy to do. Just go to employmentlawyer.ca. See that address on the screen, employmentlawyer.ca. And phone numbers are there, email address is there. It's all there to connect with me and my team. So check it out. The first place you go to, if you ever have an employment issue, very easy, employmentlawyer.ca. But right now, I'm live here. Me, Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP. Let's start answering some questions. If you just joined us, welcome. Type in your question, hit enter, and I'll see it, I'll read it, and I will answer it. Our first question today comes from YouTube, and that's from Mr. Bilson. How much working notice should I be given for 5 years of employment? What if I'm given 1 week? Where can I search for common law decisions? Okay, so if you've been working for 5 years, I also would need to know your age and the type of job, but you could be looking at anywhere from 6 to 12 months, depending on the job you're doing and your age, 6 to 12 months. Now, if your employer wants to let you go, they have two ways to do that. Let's say you're owed 8 months. They can either give you 8 months advance notice of termination, or they can let you go immediately and pay you severance for 8 months. That's what the employer can do. So if you've received 1 week's notice, that means the company has to pay the difference, so 8 months less a week, by way of severance. Most people, when they're let go, do not get enough notice or enough severance. That's why you call us. So you're asking Mr. Bilson, when can I search for common law decisions? You don't. That's our job. It's like when you go to the doctor, you don't say, wait, where can I search the appropriate medication? That's what you go to the doctor for, so they can tell you what medication you need to take. You don't go to the medical databases and search. So if you've been let go, we do our job, which is to make sure you get proper compensation, proper severance. So Mr. Bilson, your next step is to reach out to myself and my team. You can do that through employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. It's right there on the screen. So call me. Let's make sure we have that discussion as soon as possible. Thank you for that, Mr. Bilson. I'm going to answer more questions right now. But for those that have just joined us, welcome. This is your employment law session with me, Lior Samfiru. Now is the time to ask questions. Still have plenty of time every single week, like clockwork. I get a bunch of questions as soon as I log off the air, and I don't get to answer them. So let's not make that happen today. Let's ask your question early so you can get the answer from me. Okay, so I'm going to continue answering questions right now. You have time. Ask yours as well. Khalid has our next question. Khalid is joining us from YouTube. Khalid says, I'm on disability right now, and I contacted the union to ask about after 2 years what happens. Union said to me I will get terminated and no severance. Is that true? Well, it's true depending on what province you're in. In Ontario, you may still be owed some severance, but ultimately, your union, if you're part of a union, is the only one that's allowed to help you enforce your rights. So one thing I want to remind everyone is that Everything you hear me talk on these sessions, or you may see me on TV or hear me on radio, everything I say only applies to non-union employees. Again, non-union employees. If you're a unionized employee, if you're part of a union, you have to talk to your union. They're the only ones that can advise you about your legal rights and the only ones that can help you enforce those legal rights. So thank you for that question, Khalid. I'm going to continue answering. Again, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP, here for you at your service, answering questions. So ask yours right now as well. All right, Patty has our next question, and Patty says, if I initially requested to be on parental leave for 18 months, am I allowed to change the return date to an earlier time? Yes, absolutely. You're supposed to give advance notice of you give as much notice as you can, but yes, you absolutely can return earlier and the company has to take you back. So if you've made a decision that you need more a longer leave or a shorter leave, tell your employer as soon as possible. Okay, they have to take you back. They can't say no. They can't say we don't want to or we're not ready. If they give you a hard time, you give me a call, because yes, you can change that. In some situations, you thought I'm only going to need 12 months and you want to take longer. Or maybe it's a situation where you gave a lot of notice and you're ready to come back sooner. No problem. Give them advance heads up on that and they have to take you back. Very good question, Patty. So hopefully that answers it. Okay, continuing. You see how easy it is? Let's make sure you get your questions answered as well. Ash B has our next question. I've heard on other live streams about misclassified contractors. How can you know if you're not a contractor? My partner is dealing with this. Very good question. So it is extremely common, Ash, that individuals are misclassified as contractors. In other words, they're being treated as if they're a contractor, but in the eyes of the law, they're employees. Remember, it doesn't matter what a company calls you or what you call yourself. Doesn't matter how you pay your taxes. Doesn't matter if you've incorporated your own company. The law makes that determination. So how do you know if you're an employee or contractor? Well, it's kind of simple. If you look like an employee and act like an employee, you are an employee. So if you only work for one company, you're probably an employee. If you work for a company regular hours, you're probably an employee. If you've worked for them for a long time, you're probably an employee. If they tell you what to do, where to go, how much to work, you're probably an employee. A contractor is someone that's in business for himself or herself. An example, you have a leaky faucet in the kitchen. You call the plumber, right? The plumber comes to work, does the job, gets paid. That plumber is not your employee. That plumber is an independent contractor. He's going to then finish the job and go to someone else. He has a bunch of customers that he's going to do work for. He's going to have to manage his own schedule. He's going to have to generate business for himself. He's a contractor. On the other hand, if that plumber only worked for you every day full time, he'd be your employee. So Ash, your partner has to decide, is he more like the plumber or is he more like an employee? I'm going to leave you with this thought, Ash. If anyone wants to find out if you're an employee or a contractor, we have a tool that allows you to find out. Go to pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. Again, pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. One of the tools there is a tool that allows you to find out if you're an independent contractor or an employee. You click on that, you answer a few questions, and it's going to give you that assessment. It's free and it's anonymous, so check it out. So very good question, Ash. And if your partner is an employee, he has the rights of an employee, including the right to vacation pay and overtime and severance if he's let go. So Ash, hopefully that helps. Thank you for that question. Fantastic question. See how easy it is, right? Ash had a very important question. She asked it. She got the answer. I answered it for her. You can do the same. Again, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP, here with you at your service, answering questions about employment law, workplace rights. All right, let's continue answering questions. Paulo has a question from YouTube. A lot of YouTube folks today. Love that. Supervisor on salary for 2.5 years. Brought safety issues, demoted because of it. Salary removed on unpaid leave. What do I do now? So if you've been demoted, that's a constructive dismissal. You can treat that as a termination of employment. If you've been demoted because you raised safety issues, that can also be a violation of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. It's illegal to punish you because you raised safety issue. We call that a reprisal. So it's illegal. Now, I'm not sure why you're on an unpaid leave. Did you ask to go on a leave? Did they put you on a leave? But either way, this scenario is not legal. So you have the two options. Option number one is you do nothing. Okay, you continue working when you're ready, and that's that. And you've been demoted, and your pay is different, etc. Or you can treat this as a constructive dismissal. Now, if you're a supervisor for 2.5 years, I don't know your age, but you could be looking easily at 6 months of severance, and there could be additional damages because of the reprisal, because of the fact that they demoted you because of the safety issues. So, Paula, you have to make that decision now. Do you do nothing, or do you pursue a constructive dismissal? If that's what you want to do, if you want to pursue a constructive dismissal, you're done. You want to get your compensation and leave, connect with me as soon as possible. Don't wait on this. To connect with me and my team, very easy to do. Just go to employmentlawyer.ca. You see that address on the screen, employmentlawyer.ca. Okay, very, very important. Hopefully it makes sense. If you have a follow-up question, Paulo, Ash, anyone else, please ask it right now. Man, see, again, how many questions? Probably answered 5 or 6 questions already. Easy to do. So you can ask your question as well. Still have over 15, almost 20 minutes to go here. So don't be bashful. Ask your question. No point having these questions and concerns and not giving me that opportunity to help you. Okay, so let's make sure you get those answers. And it starts with asking the right questions so that I can answer it. All right, let's see here. Next question today is from Ladder. My employer is 2 weeks late on paying staff. We haven't received a real explanation. How long is an employer allowed to be late with paying staff? They're not allowed to be late at all. When you start working, there's a very simple deal you have with your employer. You come into work, you do your job, and the company pays you on time the right amount. That's the deal. It's as simple as that. So just like you can't decide I'm not going to show up for work, your employer can't decide I'm not going to pay you, even if they have a reason. So you now, as I was telling to Paulo, you have a decision to make. Are you okay with this? Are you going to continue waiting? Or do you treat this as a constructive dismissal? That's what you can do. You can treat the failure to pay you on time as a constructive dismissal, leave and get your severance. The problem here is this. If you accept this and continue working, you've given the company the right to do it again. So I just told you they can't be late at all. But if you accept it, I waited, fine. They paid me a month later, fine. Now you've given them the right to be late again because you let them get away with it that first time. You don't want them to get away with it, I think. It's up to you. If you want to pursue a constructive dismissal or at least discuss it, connect with me and my team through employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. All right, good questions today. Some fantastic questions. I'm glad you guys are asking them. I see a bunch of more questions coming in. Bring them on. I'm not done. I'm not afraid of these questions. I'm not going to get sick of them. Ask your questions. Again, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP, with you, for you, here at your service, answering employment law questions. Let's see. Fred has our next question. I am entitled for RSP and bounces. Not sure what you mean. I have not received. I was laid off, 66 years, worked 11 years, the same company, and they based weekly pay for severance at 40 hours. So I'm not sure I understand, but mine is if I'm understanding correctly, you've been working for 11 years, you're 66 years of age. They let you go, and even though you were working 54 hours, they based your severance on 40 hours. Well, that's not right. But the first thing is for how many months they've paid you. If you're 66, been there for 11 years, you'll probably be owed 13, 14 months of severance, maybe even more, depending on the job that you were doing. So let's say it's 14 months. They have to pay you for 14 months based on your average earnings. So we would look at, say, what you were earning in the last year per month, and we would calculate that. So they can't use a lower number if you regularly made more money. So this is a wrongful dismissal. So Fred, I can tell you that here that you're been wrongfully dismissed, but for me to actually help you get what you're owed, I can't do that on social media. For that, you have to contact me in the office. All right. You have to reach out to me and my team. Very, very easy to do that today. employmentlawyer.ca to connect with me and my team. When you go there, you'll see the phone number, the email address, all the contact information is right there. So don't be bashful, make the call. Let's have that discussion as soon as possible. By the way, Fred, if you've signed off, you accept their severance offer. If you sign it, you're done. You can't change your mind, even if you're owed another $50,000. It doesn't matter. So you cannot accept that severance offer until we've spoken. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. Fred, call me as soon as possible. Connect with me through employmentlawyer.ca. Myrna has our next question. I work for the post office. Do you do federal? We represent federal employees all the time, but we cannot represent unionized employees. So no lawyer is allowed to ever represent a unionized employee. It has to be the union. So if you're part of a union, Myrna, I cannot help you. No lawyer can help you. It has to be the union. If maybe you're a manager and you're not unionized, absolutely, I can help you. We represent federally regulated employees across the country all the time. So connect with me if you're not part of a union through employmentlawyer.ca. Lots of questions. I love it. Still have 10 minutes or so, maybe even a bit more. Ask your question. I know you're watching. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching, but you can do better for yourself and for me, frankly, by asking your question, typing in on the screen, hitting enter. It's going to pop up on my screen. I'll read it. I'll answer it. And you'll say, aha, now I know what to do. How are you going to know what to do if you didn't ask the question? So easy to do. Ask the question and I'll answer it. Okay, let's see. Where are we? Ronki. Ronki has our next question. I've just been let go from my work after 19 months. I'm over 50, offering 3 weeks per year severance pay. They say I'm not entitled to bonus, giving me an amount less than the 20% in my contract of employment. So first of all, you didn't tell me what kind of a job you were doing, but I know that you were there for 19 months and 50 years old. So you're probably going to be owed anywhere from 3 to 6 months of severance, depending on depending on the type of job that you had, but 3 to 6 months. So they're offering you 3 weeks or so. So that's nonsense. You're owed much, much more than that. Now, if your employment agreement requires them to pay you the bonus, they have to pay you the bonus as well. They have to pay you the bonus to date, as well as the bonus over the 6 months, whatever it is, severance period. So Ronki, no, this is not right. This is not even close. Now that you know that, the question becomes, what do we do about it? Very simple. We negotiate proper severance. Easy to do when you know what you're doing. So contact myself, contact my team. You can do that through employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. And when you do that, I'll be able to help you. So no, it's easy to think for many people that, well, I only worked for a short period of time. I worked for a year, for 2 years. I'm probably not owed a lot of severance. No, that's not the case. Not even close. Short service employees are actually treated disproportionately better than longer service employees. So just because, in this case, Ronki worked for 19 months doesn't mean she's owed 1, 2, 3 weeks of severance. That severance is still going to be measured in months. Yes, even if you worked for a few months, you could be owed a few months of severance. So, Ronki, I want you to connect with me as soon as possible through employmentlawyer.ca. And for everyone there, including Ronki, if you want to find out how much severance you're owed, you want to find out now. You don't want to take your employer's word for it because they're not offering you proper severance. Here's what you do. Grab your smartphone, grab your tablet, your desktop, whatever you want, and go to pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. Again, pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. That's the address right there. When you go there, you'll see our severance calculator tool. Over 2 million people have used it. Very simple. Go to pocketemploymentlawyer.ca, use the calculator, you answer a few questions, and it's going to tell you if you're owed 6 months severance, 20 months severance, something else. It's easy to use. It's completely free, completely anonymous. No names, no phone numbers, no email addresses. It's just there for you and your information. And if you want to, and only if you want to, you can contact me directly from the severance calculator. Okay? So again, check it out at pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. Okay, great questions. To those joining us, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer, answering your questions here live. So ask questions. Let's make sure that you get the answers that you deserve. So Ronki, you had a follow-up question. I just answered. I told you how much severance you're owed. Let's see. PKM has our next question. I was terminated after submitting an accommodation document from my doctor. The employer wrongfully suggested I lied during my hiring interview, even though they conducted reference checks. What now? So what potentially is happening here, what looks like it's happening here, is that the company has let you go because they found out that you need accommodation. And they came up then with a reason. Well, let's just say that it's because she lied during the interview. Obviously, I don't know what happened during the interview, but if you didn't lie and they can prove that you lied, then not only is this a wrongful dismissal, but this is potentially a human rights violation. You cannot be let go because you need accommodation. Full stop. If that's the reason or even part of the reason, it's illegal. So I want you to keep that in mind. Your employer should never, ever let you go because of that. So you could be entitled to severance, but you also could be entitled to human rights damages. Remember, if you need accommodation, you have a medical condition, you need accommodation, easy. Just get a doctor's note saying that you have that need, that you need that accommodation. Your employer has to make all efforts to do what your doctor has recommended. They can't question you. They can't say, I don't believe you or believe your doctor. They can't demand that you see another doctor. They have to ultimately follow what your doctor is saying. So get that doctor's note. If anything happens, if your employer won't accommodate you, won't listen, lets you go, disciplines you, you call me right away. Okay, it's a big deal. So contact me through employmentlawyer.ca. So PKM, hopefully that answers the question. If you have a follow-up, please ask it right now. Happy to answer it. All right. Let's see. Next question with me, Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer from Prague Dog. There you go. Our winner for best name today, Prague Dog, for sure. Love that name. I was a full-time employee, full-time for years. Then I went part-time, and my employer said I was on trial. Presumably you mean on probation for 6 months. And then did it again for 6 months as if I was a new employee and they could fire me if they wanted. Well, they can let you go, but they have to pay you severance. You're not on probation. There's no such thing as probation after you've already worked for a while. It doesn't mean anything. Remember, your employer can let you go, but they have to pay you your full severance. So it doesn't matter if your employer said, oh, yeah, you're on probation. No, nonsense. You have to get your severance, and the time with your employer, all your time, the time that you spent full-time and the time that you spent part-time, all of that counts towards your seniority and towards your severance. So absolutely nonsense. You can be let go, but severance has to be paid. And Prague Dog has a follow-up. Is there a time limit to get more severance? So you have 2 years from when you were let go to pursue your severance. Okay. So there's a 2-year limitation period. If you've been let go more than 2 years ago, unfortunately, you're out of time. If it's been less than 2 years, assuming you haven't signed anything, you're absolutely able to pursue that. And you can connect with me right now today through employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. So hopefully that answers the question. We have some more time here. If you have a question for me, Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer, ask it right now. I'll be more than happy to answer it. A couple of things that I want everyone to understand when it comes to severance. There are a lot of misconceptions out there. A lot of people believe that if you're let go, you're owed 1 week per year of service, maybe 2 weeks per year of service. Nonsense. No, that's not correct. Your full severance, your full termination entitlements are a lot more than that. You could be owed 2 months per year, 7 months per year, 12 months per year, depending on various factors, your age, your position, your length of employment, et cetera, et cetera. So all those factors, there's other factors, how hard is it going to be for you to find another job, the state of the economy. The worse the economy is, the more severance you're getting, because it's going to be harder to find another job, right? So there's a lot of factors. That's why we created the severance calculator. You can find that at pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. to allow you to figure out quickly, instantly, how much severance you're owed, to get an assessment of that, of that severance. I want you to remember that over 90% of people, when they're let go, 90, so that's almost everyone, when they're let go, they're offered a lot less severance than what they're legally owed. A lot. That's why I started doing TV and radio all these years ago, because I was so shocked to find out that almost everyone was getting improper severance, and almost everyone didn't realize this. Every single day, employees were accepting severance that was terrible. Imagine if you're let go and you're owed a year's pay and you're accepting 2 months' pay. So you're walking away from 10 months. People do that still every single day. They're doing it less now because I've been all over TV and radio telling them that, but they still do it. Don't let that happen to you, ever. If you're let go, doesn't matter if you work for a month or 50 years. If you're let go, you call me. Or at a minimum, go to pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. And if you don't like me, that's okay. Go to another employment lawyer. But do not accept that severance offer, ever. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. Next question here. Let's see if we can get one more question in under the wire from Wolf. The store I work at had an eviction notice posted on the entrance. Sorry, if I'm unable to return to work because of this, am I owed severance? Yes, absolutely. You are still going to be owed severance if you lose your job because of this. And again, your severance is going to be calculated based on your age, position, length of employment, etc. And that could be as much as 24 months, depending on how long you've been there. Let's see. Fred had a follow-up question. How human rights can be proven if company denying it? Most of older people let go and kept the young ones. So they're going to have to explain why they let go of old people and kept young people. So it's going to be very difficult. If in fact you can show that young people were kept, old people were let go, unless the company can show some sort of a reason for that, like the young people were better or had more experience or whatever, it's going to be very difficult. They have to prove that they didn't do it. So if they can show that they didn't, fine. Otherwise, it's likely going to be a human rights violation just based on the numbers. It's illegal. Age discrimination is a very real thing. Again, an employer cannot decide to keep an employee, let go of an employee, discipline an employee because of their age. Age discrimination, illegal, can't do that ever. So hopefully that makes sense. Guys, this is the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure. A lot of questions today. I'm glad that people are interested to know about legal rights. I'm going to be turning off my camera here, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm still able to talk, to answer questions, to help. To do that after the session is over, just go to employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. It's my firm's website. You can learn and read a lot about employment law there. You can also get phone number and email addresses for me and everyone working for me across Canada. So use that. Make sure you do that so that you have solutions. I'll be back here next week, of course. Don't wait until then. If you have questions and issues, contact me. Until I speak to you again, thank you so much for joining me. I'll talk again to you soon. Bye-bye.